Yeah. Right? And I'm not playing no games. Yeah.
There, greetings and salutations. I am Pops, and let me change you to be a little bit bigger. I think that's fair, right? We can compromise and go that big, right? So let's talk about Eradication. It's this free on Tubi. Tubi original. Didn't know they even had original content. I think someone actually, and it just did not click. And I read, and I cannot confirm, the budget for this film was around $5,000. Holy crap! How is that even possible? Anyway, let's talk about Eradication. This apocalyptic pandemic themed film with this really cool promotional material. I was like, hey, I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm going to talk about it. There's not a lot of information on this film. I don't even think it has a Wikipedia page. So here's the deal. Low budget film, but it reminded me of like the creative process that got Blair Witch so big. It's just ingenious of little subtleties that they could do at low cost. It has only a couple cast members. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 people. Anyway, it's set around the pandemic, so there's an excuse for isolation. They use drones. They use a laptop, like a Zoom call type of thing, to communicate in different parts of the film. So it's very clever. It's a good way to make a really interesting film, or at least stretch your legs a little bit. So the creator behind this is kind of like their first foray in like feature film, and I could see them being like doing film work shorts, documentaries, and like, I got this feature I'm gonna do. I don't know. Maybe that was the backstory. I didn't really look, but anyway. So the story opens with a couple. They're running, and they have gas masks on. And they're hauling butt through the woods, and then there's like, you hear someone else chasing them, and you hear an arrow, and then the other one's like, go on, and then when that person turns around, they get an arrow to the face. That's the credits. The credits are rolling, where it's talking about the destruction, this outbreak of something, how dire it is. There's a creation of something called the Eradication Control Task Force, right? So whatever this pandemic is, it was almost like the idea was birthed out of, what if it really is this danger, like in early 2020, if it was really this dangerous, a movie about it, what if we did this thing? So, and it's sort of like, they treat people in sort of the same vein as like Walking Dead / 28 Days Later, right? They drop hints like they can't come out at dark, So I'm like, well, is this going to be I Am Legend or Omega Man or something? Like, what are we working with? Anyway, so we cut to the story. The story is like 90% about David. David is on this call with this hot. And it's like they're testing to find a treatment. We learn her name is Sam. We learn that they're like a love interest. It's been like 2 years. Dude's like been holed up in this place, this cabin, pretty much by himself for 2 years. And the premise is he was somehow exposed or got this virus but lived. So they're using him as the guinea pig to get blood, get samples, and get things so that people can find a cure. And everyone but him, he's the key to save us all. That's kind of how it's set up. Like I said, using the laptop as a way to communicate. For like 30 minutes, there's not a lot that happens. So for 30 minutes, about understanding life that David leads. He does exercises. He's doing a blood draw. You see, he only goes out very rarely, but he goes out completely dressed, hazmat suit, mask on, to drop his blood off, and they give him like cans of food to eat. He has all these they're obsessed with egg timers in this film, which make no sense to me because they only go for like an hour. So I don't understand the premise of him setting like 8 egg timers. Like I think they're going for, I spend 10 minutes on this one, it goes off, I go on to this one, but I'm like, why would you just have, I don't know. If it's an apocalypse, why would you not just use one timer, and then when that one wears out or breaks, it's they use it and it's fine because it's building the structure of this time and stuff. When you think about it, you're like, it doesn't really make that much sense. Anyway, he does learn about there's a home test to see if he is infected or not. Like there's a random phone call. There's this phone. And there's these random phone calls. This one's from a guy named Todd, and tells me about this at home. And he's trying to get to where David is. And anyway, he's like, "Don't come here." Anyway, so David's outside. And he runs into what an infected looks like. What is happening? And we have like impressions from what was happening in our opening. We get to see this person with like the bloody face, and he's like not quite right, and he's late. So David falls down. So it's like they're pulling up the terror if he could actually get caught or killed or whatever. And the only thing, it's kind of like the slower version of 28 Days Later, but with like the chattering thing. They're big into like the teeth chattering thing, which was like from World War Z. I don't know if the people think it's original or not, because the film doesn't quite define what the infected is like. I'm going to get to more of that in a minute. But the effects are fine. It's really not. It doesn't require effects. We don't need some major thing, and I'll get to more of like my problems with that. So anyway, a random arrow. So there's somebody always watching David. There's people all around, and then we get more of the drone surveillance stuff going on. And this is where you see David. David's really struggling with his mental capacities. He's like battling like almost like cabin fever from Shining. Like, just is he ill? Is he losing his mind a little bit? It's okay. Anyway, we have a weird sort of like hallucination though, where Sam is there. Like he thinks Sam's there in real life, but she's like a witch. Like she's like lecturing him, like, we can't tell you because you can't handle it, and we always tell people what to do and things like that. I don't know, and it's like it's weird because there's a part where David's talking to her about symptoms and stuff, and the dude at the lake or something, like, well, we can't tell you that. I'm like, what? Like, what does it do to people? I think is what he asked. Like, what to do? What do you mean? Why would David kept in the dark? This isn't. And I understand where the story goes, but this was really dumb. This was a really missed opportunity here to continue to build intrigue or contradictions or something. Anyway, Sam just changes the subject and says something like, "We made a breakthrough. We're close to finding a cure." But she says, "We're close to finding a cure for you." And I'm like, what the? I thought this was the other way around. He's the cure. Now he's first. Like, I don't. And David is like in the dark, like all stuff. It was just, I don't know. Anyway, David starts to become non-compliant. He breaks the timers. He wanders back out of the forest, and that's when he finds the dead body from the opening scene, I guess. And then I got a little confused because on the phone, some of the stuff's so dark. I couldn't get some of this right away. But basically, the person that he interacts with, she says she's infected. It turns out it's Sam. Well, Sam is right there, right? The whole time. And you're like, what is going on? And she starts talking about how she's made a deal with them, which we assume is this eradication control people. And that they're killing people that are infected. So if they know she's infected, we just kill her. But because David is her significant other, David's blood can be the cure. So she's kind of like bribed them. I don't know how that keeps her from dying at this point, but we get to that. All right, whatever. Anyway, so long story short is Sam says David couldn't handle it because she is a witch in real life too. And then he gets hurt and she's like, I'm so hungry. It's like, oh no. She's like, I'm sick, David. I'm sick. I'm like, oh, now it just gets silly. So I don't think they had a clear linear set of what the rules were going to be. It's come like a lot of really good ideas to make a super low budget and pull it off because the execution's not bad, but the thread of the story, it just once it gets off the rails, it can't get back on the rails because now it's like they're touching and he tries to lock her in a room and then he's finding other messages and now you start to see, oh, his blood suppresses the infection, so she's drinking or just drinking his blood, I guess. Really, that's what happens. And that suppresses the symptoms. There's really no experimentation or whatever. Anyway, she's in the tent. She's the one living right there this whole time. She's the archer protecting David. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not even sure I care, man. So anyway, so what's weird is everything they set up changes. And Sam at one point puts her arm in the sun and it burns. So now she's like vampire. So now it's not really zombie, it's vampire. Because the dude at the lake was in the daylight. And she like later she's more blue. So I'm like, is this more like we're back around to I Am Legend again, where they're just sort of a hybrid? Again, they had some ideas, but it got muddled. Anyway, so the person on the computer, because David's watching videos, he's piecing stuff together about what Sam has done and her arrangement with, quote, these people. And at some point, he's pressing the issue, and they basically say, no, the deal's off. And you see a drone moving, and you can see it says eradicate, which is, it's called eradication. Anyway, they're gonna spray gas. So he gets his gas mask on or whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, at this point, I'm an hour in, and I've pretty much lost. Like the first 30 minutes was set up. They didn't really have structured rules they wanted to follow in the middle. And you're like, well, how is this going to end? Anyway, so he's not going to die like that, obviously. But he gets hurt. And I got to be honest, at this point, too, David, he falls and gets hurt really bad. And at this point, I'm kind of like, dude, you kind of deserve to die. I wasn't rooting for David anymore. You're such a nitwit that zombies would have gotten you. Like if they didn't isolate you in this cabin and protect you, you would have just been dead because you're just a moron. He doesn't seem to have any common sense or risk assessment. Like he doesn't seem to think about it would really be a bad idea if I did that. I could get hurt. I could die. There's no one here to save me. I'm by myself. Like, I don't know. It's just like if I was in the situation, you would kind of have different perceptions of how you're going to approach everything. And he doesn't have that. So anyway, Sam's chattering. She doesn't chatter. She's gray now instead of, she's scared of the sunlight. It's just, and he's like whimpering, like, I'll just give you blood. I'll give you blood. And then, cause she's like totally gray and they start hugging. And I kid you not, there's a subtitle. It made me laugh. Subtitles kept saying Sam softly snarling or something. Softly snarling. I was Sam softly snarling. Like it's alliterative and it is cringy. Yeah, I didn't like it. Anyway, so she gets blood and she literally laps it up. Like I'm like, I kind of joke with the kids, like that's like a jokey sound I make, and that's the sound. Like maybe I should have a job in ADR doing the lappy sound, because yeah. Anyway, the sun, I kid you not, the sun goes behind a cloud. So now it's dark enough in the house that she can come out. So I'm like, is it UV light we're worried about? Is it just light? Is the lantern too much? Because again, no rules. Anyway, they hug. She bites him. I still don't care. She feels guilty, walks into the sunlight and dies into dust. And I guess they were more vampires than they were zombie. I don't know. So there's tons of drones. He's inside because he's been bitten. He starts clicking. He tests his sizzle in the sun. Like he's things, right? He drinks some of his own blood. Then he digs a grave basically for him and her. The Todd guy shows up. Egg timers go off. There's a couple moments and I'm just like, I don't freaking care. Here's the thing. Eradication is got elements of a super low budget how to make a film. Like if you want to make a really low budget film for a few, can you believe, again, I have not found anything that can rebuke the $5,000. I assume it's more than that. There's no way you did everything for free. I can't imagine you get this much stuff for free to keep the cost down. Here's the thing. It's low cost. Okay. So it's a lesson in how to come up with some ideas, like with the laptop use and the drones and different things. And with one or two actors, You can get a whole lot of content on the cheap. That's great. As a writing staff, as a writer, you needed to have someone else in the room that can be a hardball critic who can really help you develop a script, think about it critically, come up with what is your Bible of what the rules are and all of that, because that is where they lost it. Lost the script. Because I can't recommend the film because the story's so bad. Like, it's actually not shot badly. It's cut well, edited well. David's fine. He's the only one that you can attach to, because Sam, she's on a computer, and when you see her, she's zombified, but she's not really zombified, and then she's a witch, so you don't care about her. She could die. And David becomes a nitwit, like I said, so I don't freaking care if he dies. Like, it's just, you have to figure some of these pieces out so we as an audience are invested. Like, I have to be sad for David. Like, the morning, like him drinking the blood and was going to dig a grave for her and then just lie there and die was going to be fine. And I really wish it kind of ended there. Like, I thought about that movie, Open Water, where they're left in the ocean, and then the one guy, I think the one survivor, I think she outlives him or whatever. But anyway, they just let themselves die. I'm like, okay, all right, that's deep, that's heavy, that's dark, but that's okay. That's what would have worked without the Todd line, and they try to trick him, and he's going to be the next David, basically. It's like, I don't understand what y'all were going for. Like, it doesn't. I mean, I can pick the pieces up. I'm not tired, but it's not good. It didn't work. So anyway, so that's my thoughts on Eradication. It is free on Tubi. Tubi has commercials, but it's fine and it's okay. And it's a Tubi original. It's not a bad thing for them to buy or make. I got to be honest. It's low cost, but the execution and stuff was fine. And maybe this is a good stepping stone for the creator to kind of learn a little bit. He needs to figure out how to get a script doctor, something to help him out in that regard. So and with that, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you've seen it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because there's not a lot on this film. It's definitely an odd one. I love this kind of stuff. I love like Contagion. Oh, I love Contagion. It's one of my favorite pandemic movies. And I love zombie stuff. I love 28 Days Later. I love the first couple seasons of Walking Dead, things like that. So anyway, tell me what you guys think. I'm Pops. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I love to interact with you guys if you leave comments, so please do. Tell me something else that you'd like me to watch. Maybe there's another Tubi original that you think I should watch. So anyway, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah. Rap Circle is finally here. I know everybody been waiting for it, right?